Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and get started back on our geography stuff. You watched the introductory video that was kind of a basic overview of geography, and then you should have already finished Station 1, which was introducing thinking maps, which is most of you guys are very familiar with it, and how we're going to use thinking maps throughout the year. You should have already created a circle map in your notebook that kind of details things about you. So if you need ideas for your All About Me page, there you go, or vice versa, there you go. Alright, so moving back on to geography here. Um, I often get asked, why do we start with geography, and you know, how does it relate to Texas history? Well, geography is kind of the basis for Texas history. In order to understand Texas, you need to understand, or the history of Texas, you need to first understand the geography of Texas. Because the geography includes the not only just like landforms, but it also deals with people, the climate, weather, things of this nature are all tied to geography. So geography in itself can tell a story about how people live, and you're going to find that as we get into Native Americans and explorers and things like that, that geography plays a key role. It even plays an even bigger role when it comes to the Texas Revolution, which is, you guys, we're going to learn about that, but everything we do kind of comes back to geography in a sense. So that's why we're starting with geography. So at first, we're just going to kind of introduce you guys to, I'm going to introduce you guys to what natural regions are in Texas. All right, so Texas geography and the natural regions. You're going to answer the following questions in your notebook. Check Edmodo for the page numbers. Very important. You need to check Edmodo to find out what page number this goes on. I will wait. Okay, not really, but if you need to pause the video, you can. I do not mind. Alright, so question number 1 is, how many natural regions are there in Texas, are in the United States? Boy, I cannot speak today. Use page 43 in your textbook. Now, pausing right here for a moment, if you do not want to use your textbook, which is, I understand some of you do not, I have posted a PDF copy of the pages on Edmodo. So if you need to pause the video right now to go and get those pages, go ahead and do that. I'll wait for you. Okay, I've waited long enough. Hopefully you're back. If not, pause the video. Take a little bit longer if you need to. Alright, so that's going to be your first question you're going to answer, is how many natural regions are there in the United States? Alright, question number 2. Explain the part of Texas you live in. Now notice the word explain. I'm not looking for a quick summary of things. I want you to explain it. Think about the type of climate, population, culture, economy. Are we urban, rural, anything like that? Those are the things I want you to explain to me. And then lastly, I want you to describe a natural region. Again, look at the word describe. I'm not looking for a definition. I want you to take the definition and put it in your own words. That would be a great describing asset. And I'm sorry if you guys hear Clyde whining in the background. He's upset at me for some reason. I don't know. Okay, so go ahead and take a few minutes, pause the video, answer these questions, and when you come back, we'll kind of go over them in this video to make sure you got them right. And if you didn't get them right, you might want to write what I have to say down, just saying. But go ahead, take a few minutes, check this. You know, if you do a good job, maybe some dojo points come your way. I do not know, but we'll see. All right, go ahead and pause the video. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and you've answered the questions, and now we're here to check. Again, check Edmodo for your page numbers. Can't say that enough. Check Edmodo for your page numbers. Hint, hint. Anyway, moving on. All right, so how many natural regions are there in the United States? Well, going off of the information found on page 43 of your textbook, you will know that there are 10 natural regions in the United States. 10 natural regions. That is a lot of natural regions, okay? Cool. Now, the key thing is, can you list them? All right, explain the part of Texas you live in. Well, we have a very mild climate, and my words kind of went off on the slide, but that's okay. Our population does vary to some degree between urban and rural. However, vast majority is urban, because we live in Midlothian, and Midlothian is considered urban. There's a lot of houses and not a lot of country. And then if you obviously if you get into like Dallas or Fort Worth, Arlington, that is very urban. There is not a whole lot of country there. Midlothian has a good mix of country and urban, but it's mostly urban. Where I grew up in Dumas, Texas, now that's very rural. There is a lot of country, a lot of open land, a lot of farms, a lot of ranches, very small town, very, very small. All right, and the last, oh, what am I doing? I'm not done yet. Okay, Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex culture is also found not only in our culture, which is, we talked about culture last week, or we talked about culture earlier, and how Tex-Mex is also involved in the food. We also have Western wear and also Western music. You can't see that, but just know that I put that there, Western wear and music. And there's also drilling for natural resources. This has to deal with our economy. Now, the economy is kind of what does your area or region do to produce money, or even if you wanted to say your state, your country, things like that. Anything that you do to produce money of a monetary value that you will trade and buy, supply, demand, the list for economy goes on and on and on. But part of our economy here in Midlothian, and then I guess you could actually say North Texas, is drilling for natural resources such as oil and gas. That's very huge in Texas no matter where you're at. Now, I know natural gas is very big in this part of Texas. And then Midlothian is also known as the concrete capital of Texas. Most of you guys should know that from the second grade. If you don't, next time you're downtown by Campazano's and that little, or the log cabin, if you look at our sign, it says the Midlothian Southern Star, the concrete capital of Texas. So that's pretty cool. We also have all those concrete cement plants around here. And I could go on a list about concrete and how it's like used in ancient times and today, but I'm not going to get into that. Alright, the last thing you should have done is describe a natural region. Reference page 44 in your textbook for the definition. Again, if you don't want to have the textbook on there, you could use the PDF copies I posted to Edmodo. Alright, now we're going to actually move into looking at Texas's natural regions and where they fall into place. Because Texas is obviously a big state, so breaking it down into regions like this is going to help us get a better understanding of the people, the climate, everything like that. So, you're going to put into practice what you've learned, what you know about maps. This is going back to 6th grade. The things that you know about a map, like you know it has to have a compass, a scale, a legend. You know how to read a map, and now you're going to kind of put a little bit into practice as you build your own. And you're also going to be looking at the natural regions of Texas. So, up probably by my minion box or on my desk, I'm not sure, I'll give you instructions on where this is all located. You're going to use trace paper to trace the outline map of Texas in pencil. Now, I have a class set of these maps that are shown on this slide right here. This is a class set. Do not write on these for me. I need to use these all throughout the day, so please, please do not write on those. Alright, so you're going to take your trace paper and you're going to trace the outline of Texas as well as all these little borders on the inside. These borders are actually the borders for natural regions. Now, once you've traced all these borders, you need to go back over the, time out. You need to trace all these borders in pencil. Very important here, in pencil. Do not use pen. We want to be able to erase if we make a mistake. Use pencil. Alright. Once you've traced all the borders, you're going to go back over them with a dark colored pencil. Dark colored pencil. Do not use blue. I cannot say that enough. I'm going to say it one more time anyway. Do not use blue. You use blue on a map, and that represents, wait for it, water. Very good. So if you were to outline these borders in blue, you can mistake those as rivers. We don't want that because that's next. All right. So then you're also going to create a color-coded legend to identify the natural regions of Texas. You can use whatever colors you want, but they better match your legend. So if you have like mountains and basins as purple, then the mountain and basins region of Texas better be purple. If it's not, your map is wrong and you have to start over. Nobody wants to do that. Alright, the last thing you're going to do is somewhere in these bottom two corners, you're going to give me the definition of a natural region. Seems like we've already done that somewhere before, right? Oh yeah, your notebook. Check that out. Take that definition, write it here. If you want to summarize it and put it in your own words, I'm okay with that. Absolutely, go for it. Alright, now let's actually look at the Texas natural regions. In case you guys haven't figured it out, if you've read ahead in the textbook, that's cool too. But here are your natural regions. Alright? So once you traced it out, once you trace your Texas and you've outlined it in a dark colored pencil, not blue, you're now ready to label the regions, and then I'll give you instructions on how to color them in just 1 second, okay? So the first region we're going to look at is obviously one of the biggest regions. I think it is the biggest. I can't remember if it's the Great Plains or the Gulf Coastal Plains that's the biggest. I really think the Gulf Coastal Plains has the most amount of land in it. Anyway, the Gulf Coastal Plains is the first natural region we're actually going to look at. So this would be the Gulf Coastal Plains. Notice the Gulf of Mexico by Houston. And now you guys can't see where I'm pointing, but you know where the Gulf of Mexico is. Go ahead and label that on the map. See, I know if you're skipping ahead because I'm actually telling you to do stuff in the video. So if you just skipped ahead and thought you could be all smooth, wrong. Alright, so the next region we're going to look at is actually the Central Plains. So Dallas-Fort Worth is kind of in the middle between the Central and Gulf Coastal Plains, isn't it? Pretty cool. Alright, the next region we're going to look at is the Great Plains. See, this is the Great Plains. This is where I grew up. This is the region of Texas that I grew up in. And one other thing I want to point out is if you look at the top of the Great Plains region and go east like you were going towards Oklahoma, notice how the Central Plains kind of dips into the Great Plains area a little bit. And don't forget to color that the same color you colored your Central Plains, because that's very important to know that the Central Plains does inch into the Great Plains just a little bit. And the last natural region of Texas is known as the mountains and basins. And this is where you actually have your Texas's highest mountain, which is Guadalupe Peak. Alright, now that you have all this labeled on your map, it's time to now color. So you picked your 4 colors that you wanted to use. Now when you go to color, you need to flip your trace paper over and you're going to color from the back. If you try coloring from the front, it looks really kind of waxy and it doesn't look as good as if you were to shade it from the back. So whenever you go to color, make sure you flip your trace paper over and kind of do a mirror image when you color. Okay, the last step that I want you guys to include is you need to make sure your map has a compass rose. It needs to have a compass rose. If you don't know what a compass rose is, I suggest you Google it, look it up in the book, or come see me. I will explain to you what a compass rose is. Alright, so once you get this completed, you guys can then move on to the next station and the instructions await. Alright, see ya.